Thank you, Dastuji Seb, for your warm welcome. And now it's my privilege to stand before you and introduce the father of respiratory medicine in India, medicine na Sherlock Holmes, jine loko detective healer tarike orkhe chhe. Yes, I'm talking of none other than Dr. Farokh Udvada. He has a profusion of degrees that jostle for space on his nameplate. But even then, this Parsi is soft-spoken, humble, and down to earth. Actually to doctor ni agal patient jaye to patient bole ne doctor samjhe. Pan aje je mukam par evan પહોંચી ગયા છે, આજે અમે બધા તમુને સમજવા માંગીએ છીએ. Dr. Seb, આજે તમે બોલો. I request Dr. Farokh Udvada, Padma Bhushan Dr. Farokh Udvada, to please come and address the gathering. Doctor, please.
Vada Dastur Parsedji, Srimati Smrita Irani, members on the dais, fellow Jarthostis, ladies and gentlemen, I have thought about what I'm going to speak to you, but I'll speak to you off the cuff. And I think I shall label my talk Reflections, Past, Present, and Future. We have had a glorious past. When did we start? We started with our prophet Zarathustra between 1000 to 1500 BC, closer to 1500 BC. This prophet gave us a great religion, the first monotheistic religion in the world. He converted the polytheistic creed that was there not only in Persia, but in Southern Asia, on the belly of Southern Asia, and converted them to monotheism. He gave us just a beautiful religion, great in its simplicity, told us how to live. Humata, bhukta, havarasta, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. He taught us to be good and just. He taught us to be righteous. And he told us righteousness for the sake of rightness. What a wonderful statement. What a wonderful way to lead our lives. To be righteous just because it is right to be righteous and for no other reason. The Zoroastrian religion was not only in Persia, it spread over all of the Middle East. It spread to Southern Asia, down to the east, to the banks of the Indus, and on the belly of Asia, right up almost to the borders of China. That was how diffuse the Zoroastrian religion was. And they gave us prayers, the gathas, which are miraculous because they've been handed down as an oral tradition for over 3,000 years, unchanged. They were written really much later, during the Sasanian dynasty. And what great empires we built under the Zoroastrian religion. The Achaemenid Empire, with Cyrus II, Cyrus the Great, just, benevolent, tolerant, who built a great empire for peace, unity, prosperity. And the first part of the Achaemenid Empire, in my opinion, was the golden era of both the Zoroastrian religion and of the Achaemenid Empire. There was a small interregnum, or rather a fairly good interregnum, after Alexander, unfortunately, defeated the Achaemenid Empire. But we again came into our own in the Sasanian period, the Sasanian Empire, which was also great. We had great kings at that time too. Ardeshir the first who founded it, Shapur the first, Shapur the second, Khusrau the first and Khusru the second. Again, the Zoroastrian religion was there, spreading from the banks of the Indus up beyond the Caspian Sea, both to the east and both to the west, until came the Arab invasion, and Persia, which was Zoroastrian, became Islamic. But then some of us refused to convert, would rather risk a journey on uncharted seas, landed on the western coast of India. And we are so grateful that this great country gave us shelter. And we were the Parsis. We came from the province of Pars near the Hormuz state. And now starts again another golden period of India. I don't want to mention names of the great Parsi individuals who shaped our community and also shaped the country. But there was no field of human endeavor that was left untouched by the Parsis who then came on the western coast of India. Be it culture or science or the building of institutions or business, enterprise, trade, finance, medicine, building of hospitals, building of huge institutions, great charities, not just for the Parsi community, but for all and sundry. It was indeed a great, great period. And then, of course, let me come slowly to the present. There was a decline, not in the Zoroastrian faith, mind you, but in the Parsi community. What do you see at present? What do I see also as a doctor at present? I see a dwindling population. I see a community which is besieged, an aging population. There are pockets of affluence, but there are increasing pockets of poverty. And I know it because I see it and I treat it. As a doctor, perhaps you would want me to know what is the state of the health of the community. Well, we have diabetes, we have hypertension, we have heart problems, we have strokes. These are all genetic diseases. There is a great incidence of cancer in the Parsi female, cancer of the breast. But we lived through it all. We lived through it all because we also have the gene of longevity. And this gene of longevity, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or you don't like it, sees us through many of the diseases that I have just mentioned. Besides these diseases, what strikes me as a doctor is another aspect of our community, which is worse than disease, in my opinion. It is the loneliness coupled with age, coupled with illness that I see in so many of our old, poor Parsis. It's a dreadful situation. The lonely, handicapped individual, sometimes who can't see or can't hear or can't move, is a prisoner within himself. It's a life which is a living death. Death would be preferable. And I appeal to the community, to the philanthropists in this community, to do something more for these lonely, old, poor people. I also appeal that we do more for our morbids and our dustrous than what we are doing. How can we have a faith, which is spread amongst the younger generation of this community, if you don't have a large number of priests? And how can you have a large number of priests unless they are well paid, well housed, well fed, and looked after all through their lives, I ask you? Of course, we continue to practice the Zoroastrian faith. Of course, we practice the principles of the Zoroastrian faith, even in the present, as we did in the past. But is there a difference between the past and the present? I do think so. The past was a phase of excellence. I feel, honestly, that the present is a phase of mediocrity. I feel and sense there is a certain lack of fire within the Parsi community, a lack of enterprise, a lack of wanting to go further, to progress. I feel the community today is in a state of torpor, standing still, not going forwards, even sometimes going backwards. Oh yes, we still contribute to society more than any other community, if you ask me, our size. Thank God we still have our sense of humor. We love to laugh at ourselves, and we don't mind others laughing at us, we laugh with them. But nevertheless, if we are to progress, we must gird our loins and step forwards. Can't we have a school, for example, that encourages young entrepreneurs, gives them the know-how of to start an enterprise or an industry? Can't we have a corpus which perhaps could help young Parsis who have good ideas to put them into practice, and to get forwards? I have wondered why we have lapsed, as I said, into mediocrity. Is it that, civilizations rise, stay at a time, and then decline? Do societies do the same way? I don't know. But I think one of the main reasons why we haven't progressed as well as we should, in the present, is that we are a quarrelsome people. We love to quarrel. We are a disunited people. Instead of having a rapprochement, we fight. We are not united. If we do not stand united and have a common front, how in the world can we progress? Can a team in cricket, football, or hockey ever win if it is disunited within itself? What do we need? We need, therefore, to reach out to the Zoroastrians all over the world, communicate with them, and tell them the problems, ask them what we should do to solve these problems. And when I look at the future, I'm even more dismayed. The future to me seems frightening. We've dwindled from over 1 lakh to 50,000 in the city of Bombay, or in India perhaps, 56, 57,000. Can you imagine that there are 4 deaths to 1 birth? Even the most elementary student in arithmetic going to a primary school would be able to say that if we go on at this rate, from a community, we will become a tribe, and from a tribe, we will become a relic. That is what worries me immensely. Do you know that 37% of Parsis marry outside the community? Look at the accreditation rate, the rate at which we could decline because of that alone. There are some 25,000 Parsis in North America. Even there, the rate of marriage outside the Parsi community is considerable. Again, look at the rate of decline because of that. And same in the other countries of the world where there is a small minority of Parsis that exist. What do we need to do? We need to consider this as a demographic emergency. In medicine, when you have an emergency, we anticipate disaster and try and prevent it. We do not await disaster and then get up and try to come to grips with it. I think, therefore, we should consider it indeed as a matter of urgency. I would like to ask, if I may, a few questions. I have to speak the truth. I'm a Zoroastrian. Hashem Mahu. Truth is beautiful, is great. Nothing greater than the truth. Speaking the truth gives you happiness. Speak the truth and be righteous for the sake of being righteous. I must ask some questions. The whole world, I ask you, believes in the equality of man and woman today. There is nothing in our religion, I'm not a scholar, but I believe, I'm told, that there is nothing in our religion which says that a man is superior to a woman. Then why should not the offspring of a Parsi female marrying outside the community not be brought up in the Zoroastrian faith, I ask you? I think the diehards will say, because we are a patriarchal system. Yes, we may be a patriarchal system. But doesn't our religion say that we have to be truthful, that we have to be righteous, and that you have to be just? And wouldn't it be just to allow such individuals to also practice as Zoroastrians? I want to ask another question which I shall, I think, answer. Have there been individuals practicing Zoroastrianism outside, say, the Persian race? Of course there have been. The whole of the civilized world in the Achaemenid period, almost the whole of the world in the Achaemenid period, the first world state, world empire that ever was, almost all of them belonged to numerous races besides the Persians, and they were all Zoroastrians. So please remember that. Now I am going to ask you a question which has nothing to do with the community, nothing to do with Zoroastrianism. It's a general question, but it has played on my mind for a long time. I want you to listen to it, think over it, and give yourselves an answer, perhaps in the middle of the night, in the quietness of the night. Does any individual or group of individuals, any body, any association, have the moral, legal, ethical right to prevent another human being from practicing a faith that he wants to practice, I ask you? What should we do? What do we need to do? So many middle class and the poorer of our community are led to believe that because we have lived for over 3,500 years or more, we will continue to live forever. They live in a dream world. What we need to do is to unite the Zoroastrian communities, Zoroastrian bodies, I don't know how many Zoroastrian bodies there are, into a single Zoroastrian body, and find out what exactly the extent of the problem is. You need to have demographies, people who know demography. people who are statisticians, to find out what is the state of affairs, what is our rate of decline at the present rate, how many are practicing Zoroastrian when they are married outside the community. Do that not only here, but do that in places where there are more Parsis like North America or Australia or the UK, in such places. You must gather facts and figures. You must have them ready, scientifically obtain facts and figures. And then you must have a body which tells, communicates with the Parsis, look, this is the state of affairs. This is what we have found. You can't bluff yourselves. You can't live in a dream world. This is what really matters. And if indeed these people find that our state of decline is great, that we are on the brink of disaster, that we are on the brink of a demographic emergency, what would you advise? If I say that is so, what would you advise? Would you then change? I ask you. Of course, you wouldn't change the basic core principles of your Zoroastrian religion. Who would ever barter them away? No one would barter them away. But would you change some of your social customs? Would you change some rituals, perhaps, that have not been given by Zarathustra, but are man-made and have stuck onto our religion over the years? I ask. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Zoroastrians, please remember that the history of the world is a chronicle of change. The history of science is a chronicle of change. The history of medicine is a chronicle of change. And the history of religions also has been a chronicle of change. Let me give you an example in medicine. In the 1st century AD, there was a great, great physician. He was a Roman. His name was Galen. He wrote numerous books, made numerous findings, and said numerous things. And what he said was considered as biblical truth. That was in the 1st century AD. Anyone who ever dared to criticize him, anywhere who dared to say perhaps he was mistaken in this or mistaken in that, was ostracized, written off, hounded out, literally. Medicine stood like this for 1,500 years. It was fossilized. And then came 4 great revolutionaries, doctors, in the Renaissance period, that is in the 16th century. And they said that Galen has made many mistakes, and they proved that this was so, and they proved it scientifically. Of course, they were hated, they were ostracized. How could the great Galen ever make a mistake? They were hounded out, destroyed almost. But medicine broke from its shackles and flowered after that. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Zoroastrians, I think if we need to survive, we need to change in some ways at least. If after you gathered all the evidence and you still decide as a body that no matter what, we are not going to change, then, my fellow brethren, you have made a death wish for the community, and sooner rather than later, the community will die. For my part, I value the Zoroastrian faith and the Zoroastrian religion more than anything else in the world. It would be a sad legacy, sad, sad thing if this great legacy is lost to this country and to the world. I pray to our Master that he send forth some enlightened Zarthostis who can show us the true path. Till that time, ladies and gentlemen, I pray that our community survives, and much more importantly, I pray that the Zoroastrian faith and religion flourishes. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful, sir. Truly eye-opening.